Welcome back to another episode of Scholastic IQ, the game where knowledge rules. I'm your host, Ethan Neer, and we have another great show in store for you tonight with two more of our great teams. So let's go ahead and introduce them. On the bottom, we have Marion with Samuel, Joby, Braden, and Sophia. And up top, we have Goreville with Duncan, Connor, Mason, and Colin. Now, before we get into the questions, let's just do a quick recap of our rules. We'll start out with some toss-up questions. Those are worth 10 points. If a team gets it right, they move on to a bonus question, which is worth 20 and can be stolen for 10. You guys are allowed to interrupt me at any time, but if you interrupt me and get a question wrong, it is 5 points for the other team. So just get all the questions right? If everybody's ready, let's get into the questions. What devices whose namesake constant is measured in newtons per meter and is denoted by K in Hooke's law are coils that, Duncan? Spring is correct, well done. For your bonus, what 12-letter word refers to the practice of compiling dictionaries, which may include work on etymologies and definitions?
Encyclopedia.
That's incorrect. Marion, chance to steal.
No answer.
The answer you're looking for was lexicography. Lexicography. Our next question. What US-born artist painted children lighting lanterns in Carnation Lily Rose after depicting Virginie Gautireau in Portrait of Madame X? Duncan.
John Singer Sargent.
That is correct. Well done. For your bonus, which country has been led by Rama X of the Shakri dynasty since the 2016 death of longtime King Pumipum Adunyati?
Saudi Arabia.
That's incorrect. Marion, chance to steal.
Thailand.
Thailand is correct. Well done. Next question. What author of The Witches of Eastwick wrote about a high school basketball star from Pennsylvania in a group of 4 novels about Rabbit Angstrom? And so we're looking for there was John Updike. John Updike. Next question. What show, which depicted the Feast of the Seven Fishes in a 2023 episode, is a Hulu series set in Chicago?
The Bear.
The Bear is correct. Well done. For your bonus, in August 2023, voters in what state rejected a constitutional amendment that would have required future amendments to win 60% support to pass?
Ohio.
Ohio is correct. Well done. All right, so toss-ups. What substance, most of which was destroyed in baryogenesis, can undergo annihilation with its opposite charge counterpart, namely normal matter? Duncan.
Antimatter.
Antimatter is correct. Well done. For your bonus, a man rescues a girl from a locked safe in what story by O. Henry about former criminal Jimmy Valentine?
The Ransom of Red Chief.
That's incorrect. Marion, chance to steal.
No answer.
The answer looking for there was a retrieved reformation. A retrieved reformation. So the toss-ups. Edwin Howard Armstrong pioneered what medium for which the term broadcasting was invented that sparked an era of mass communication in
Radio?
Sophia? Radio is correct. Well done. For your bonus, the Biot-Savart law describes how a current generates what kind of vector field measured in Teslas?
Magnetic.
Magnetic field is correct. Well done. And that'll take us to our first media question. This nearly 7-minute long song was released in 1972 by Dutch band Focus in their album Moving Waves, before it was re-released as a shorter single a year later. This song also featured on the soundtrack of Baby Driver in 2017. Name this song. Connor.
Freebird.
That's incorrect. Good song though. You guys are all the time. The answer we were looking for there was Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus. And since that was a media question, there is no bonus. So we'll just take it back to the toss-ups. What city's concert venues include Schoenberg Hall at the namesake branch of the University of California and Frank Gehry's Walt Disney Concert Hall? Mason.
Anaheim?
That's incorrect. Braden.
Fresno.
That's incorrect. The answer we're looking for was Los Angeles. Los Angeles. Next toss-up. What quantity whose lateral form excludes a shape's bases equals 4 pi r squared for a sphere and 6 times side length squared? Duncan.
Surface area.
Surface area is correct. Well done. For your bonus, in what European country was controlled by János Kadar for much of its communist period following the suppression of the reformist Emir Naz?
Belarus.
That's incorrect. Marion, chance to steal.
Albania.
That's incorrect. The answer you're looking for was Hungary. Hungary. Next question. What orator delivered speeches defending Milo from murder charges and exposing the Catalan conspiracy before being killed for opposing Mark Antony? Duncan.
Brutus.
That is incorrect. Braden.
The Secret Triumvirate.
That's incorrect. The answer we're looking for was Marcus Tullius Cicero. Marcus Tullius Cicero. Next also, what poem which describes things that are said to intimately live with rain claims that only God can make the tidal plants and is by Joyce Kilmer? Braden.
Roses.
That's incorrect. Duncan.
Violets.
That is incorrect. The answer you're looking for was trees. Trees. I know, a very godly plant of trees. Your next also, what man argued that property rights arise from laboring on the land in his 2 treatises of government, a text that influenced the founding fathers? Duncan.
John Locke.
John Locke is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what black female activist and co-founder of the NAACP exposed incidents of lynching in the late 1800s in works like Southern Horrors?
No answer.
Marion, chance to steal.
Sojourner Truth.
That's incorrect. The answer looking for was Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells. Next question. What activity was restricted by the 8-box law, the grandfather clause, literacy tests? Braden.
Voting.
Voting is correct. Well done. For your bonus, the Chandrasekhar limit is an upper bound on what quantity for a white dwarf beyond which the dwarf will collapse?
Density.
Density is incorrect. Goreville, chance to steal.
Luminosity.
Luminosity is incorrect. The answer looking for was mass. Mass. And that'll take us to our next media question. This musician has gained popularity after his... Braden.
Steve Lacy.
Steve Lacy is correct. Well done. Back to the toss-up. So what country which won the basketball silver medal at the 2020 Olympics is the home country of the top pick in the 2023 draft, Victor Wembanyama? Duncan.
France.
France is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what Englishwoman who wrote under a male pseudonym depicted conflicts between siblings Tom and Maggie Tulliver in her novel The Mill on the Floss?
George Eliot.
George Eliot is correct. Well done. Your next toss-up. What theological dialogue whose second chapter explains the Atman, or eternal soul, is a conversation between Arjuna and Krishna in the Mahabharata? Duncan.
Ramayana.
That is incorrect. And so we're looking for was the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita. Next, tell us what bone whose head articulates with the glenoid cavity of its scapula to form the ball and socket shoulder joint is proximal to the elbow? Braden.
Brachia.
That's incorrect. For a second, Braden, I thought you were like moving your arm to figure out what it was. Duncan.
Radius.
That is incorrect. The answer looking for was humorous. The humorous.
I thought it was.
Back to the toss-ups. What general, nicknamed Old Blood and Guts, relieved Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge and was known for his ambition and abrasive personality? Duncan.
Patton.
Patton is correct. Hold on. Took you a second, but you got there.
I forgot his name.
For your bonus, what country's early 20th century prime ministers include William Lyon, Mackenzie King, and Francophone Wilfrid Laurier?
Canada.
Canada is correct. Well done. For your toss-up, what state is home to the historic Fort Snelling, the headquarters of the Mayo Clinic, and the Mall of America in Bloomington? Connor.
Minnesota.
Minnesota is correct. Well done. For your bonus, Surgeon Norman Barrett is the namesake of a metaplastic disease affecting what roughly 10-inch long organ that receives food from the pharynx?
The esophagus.
Esophagus is correct. Well done. For next toss-up, what Asian country where the New People's Army insurgency and Moro conflicts have recently taken place has been the site of protests in Manila? Connor.
The Philippines.
Philippines is correct. Hold up. For your bonus, in May 2023, which performer announced plans to retire his current stage name and possibly begin performing under his real name, Abel Tesfaye?
The Weekend.
The Weekend is correct. Hold on. And that'll take us to our next media question. This fictional tiger appears on the... Connor.
Tony the Tiger.
Tony is correct. Well done. Next toss-up. What European language was used to write the novels Buddenbrooks, The Magic Mountain, and Samuel?
German.
German is correct. Well done. For your bonus, in 2023, Fernando Villavicencio was assassinated in what South American country where he was a candidate running to succeed President Guillermo Lasso?
Bolivia.
That is incorrect.
Ecuador.
Ecuador is correct. Well done. I knew that all the way, I can see. Yep, absolutely. And that'll take us to our lightning round. The way our lightning round works is each team will have 60 seconds to answer as many questions as they can about a certain topic. Now, Marion, since you guys are trailing in this one, you get the first pick of the litter. Your choices are Vice Presidents, Fast and Furious Cast, World Legislatures, and 14. I'm partial to Fast and Furious Cast. That seems like fun.
World legislators.
All right, World Legislators it is. What country's present-day legislative branch includes a body called the? 60 seconds on the clock. I will count you down. 3, 2, 1. House of Lords.
England.
That is incorrect. Bundestag.
Germany.
State Duma.
Russia.
The Knesset.
Israel.
The Althing.
Iceland.
The Lok Sabha.
Pass.
National People's Congress.
China.
Pontifical Commission.
Vatican.
The same.
Pass.
Doyle Aaron.
Pass.
The Lok Sabha.
Pass.
Same.
India.
That's correct. Oh, excuse me, that's incorrect. Adil Aaron.
Pakistan.
That's incorrect. Lok Sabha.
Ukraine.
That's incorrect. And that is all of the questions, so we will go through the ones that you missed. The House of Lords was not England, but the United Kingdom. I think you guys did know that, just the wrong one there. The Lok Sabha was India. The Sejm was Poland. And the Dáil Éireann was Ireland. Ireland. All right, Goreville, it is now your guys' turn. Your choices are 14 vice presidents and the Fast and Furious cast.
Vice Presidents.
Vice presidents it is. Given a president, name his vice presidents. 60 seconds on the clock. I will count you down. 3, 2, 1. Joe Biden.
Kamala Harris.
Bill Clinton.
Pass.
Donald Trump.
Mike Pence.
George Washington.
John Adams.
Abraham Lincoln's second VP who succeeded Lincoln as president.
Andrew Johnson.
George W. Bush.
Pass.
Richard Nixon's second VP who succeeded Nixon as president.
Ford.
George H.W. Bush.
Pass.
Pass.
Theodore Roosevelt's VP who names a city in Alaska.
Fairbanks.
James Polk's VP who names a city in Texas.
Pass.
Bill Clinton.
Pass.
George W. Bush.
Pass.
George H.W. Bush.
Pass.
James Polk's
Dallas.
VP. Bill Clinton.
I can't remember.
Pass.
George W. Bush.
Al Gore.
That's incorrect. George H.W. Bush.
Al Gore.
That's incorrect. Bill Clinton.
Al Gore.
Would you believe it actually is Al Gore for Bill
That's what I
Clinton?
was thinking.
All right. We will go through the ones that you missed. Bill Clinton's Al Gore. George W. Bush was Dick Cheney. George H.W. Bush was Dan Quayle. And those were the only ones you missed, I believe. All right, so let's take a look at our scores. After the lightning round, we have Goreville on top, 260 over Marion's 160. But still, plenty of time to come back in the back half, Marion. Back to our toss-ups. What country contains Lake Balkhask, is the world's largest landlocked country by area? Connor.
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan is correct. Well done. Free bonus. Which English king who was married to Catherine of Braganza was king during the Great Fire of London and came to power after the Stuart Restoration?
James II.
James II is incorrect.
Charles II.
Charles II is correct. Well done.
Charles II, yeah.
Next question. What class of rocks, which may be extrusive like basalt or intrusive like granite, is defined as rocks forming from the cooling of magma? Samuel.
Igneous.
Igneous is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what noble gas is used in photography because it can produce intense bursts of white light like xenon, which lies below it on the periodic table?
Argon.
That's incorrect. Goreville, chance to steal.
Krypton.
Krypton is correct. Well done. Next toss-up. What kind of objects have modes or industries, such as the Masterian, were often made of flint and were once used to define unique human behavior? Mason.
Zebras.
That's incorrect. Fun animal, though. Samuel.
Lighters.
That's incorrect. The answer we're looking for was tools, as in stone tools. Next toss-up. What group, which was founded in Florida by Tina Descovich and Tiffany Justice, is a conservative organization that calls for censorship in schools? Braden.
Mothers for Liberty.
Mothers for Liberty is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what Republican senator from Massachusetts was beaten with a cane by Preston Brooks in 1856 after giving a speech attacking slavery?
Sumner.
Sumner is correct. Well done. The next question. What technology was supposedly spread west after the Battle of Talas, was attributed to the eunuch Kai Sai Lun, and was used the bark of mulberry trees? So all the time. The answer we're looking for there was paper making. Paper making. And that'll take us to our next media question. Actress Jenna Ortega stars in this. Joby.
Wednesday.
Wednesday is correct. Well done. For the next toss-up. What elements allotropes include a two-dimensional hexagonal, one called graphene, as well as spherical.
Carbon.
Carbon is correct. Well done. For your bonus, the Polish Glacier is a route of ascent of what mountain in Argentina that is the tallest mountain outside Asia?
Pass.
Goreville, chance to steal.
No answer.
The answer we're looking for is Mount Aconcagua. Aconcagua. Next question. What type of interval between the bottom space and top line on a treble clef has a 2-to-1 frequency ratio and has a name from the Italian for eighth? Connor.
Octave.
Octave is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what son of Loki from Norse mythology is a wolf who will swallow Odin at Ragnarok?
Fenrir.
Fenrir is correct. Well done. For the next toss-up, what type of electoral district, 56 of which were abolished by the Great Reform Act of 1832, included ones with fewer voters known as pocket or rotten? And so looking for there is boroughs. Boroughs. For your next toss-up, what author who wrote about a planet that suddenly experiences total darkness in his story Nightfall described the galactic empire in Foundation? Duncan.
Isaac Asimov.
Asimov is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what adjective can describe a language formed from mixing other languages as well as a style of folk music originating in rural Louisiana?
Creole.
Creole is correct. Well done. For your next question, pencil and paper ready. What is the value of 16 raised to the 5/4 power, given that the answer is an integer and the next power of 2? Duncan.
32.
32 is correct. Well done. For your bonus, Asheville, an Appalachian city that is nicknamed Land of the Sky, is in the western part of what East Coast state?
North Carolina.
North Carolina is correct. Well done. The next toss-up. What monarch sent the Kruger telegram to South Africa, dismissed Otto von Bismarck as chancellor? Samuel.
Wilhelm II.
Wilhelm II is correct. Well done. For your bonus, in a story by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, a woman who is confined to her room becomes obsessed with its wallpaper, which is what color?
Yellow.
Yellow is correct. Well done. Now I'll take us to our last media question. This app is a video. Connor.
Twitch.
Which is correct.
I'm not good at this.
Next toss-up. What man who beat Robert Zimmerman in a 2022 House election agreed to settle a check fraud case in Brazil and fabricated much? Mason.
George Santos.
George Santos is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what father of Aisha was the first of the 4 rightly guided caliphs who succeeded Muhammad?
Pass.
Marion, chance to steal.
No answer.
And so looking for is Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr. Next question. What material was invented in 1867 using diatomaceous earth as stabilizing agent for nitroglycerin by Alfred Braden?
Dynamite.
Dynamite is correct. For your bonus, what composer who based several works on the Kalevala composed a nationalistic poem titled Finlandia?
No answer.
Goreville.
Sibelius.
Sibelius is correct. Well done. For your next question, in what country whose population density is the highest of any? Duncan.
India.
That's incorrect. I will reread the question for you, Marion. In what country whose population density is the highest of any country in mainland Africa, where many Hutus and Tutsis were killed during a 1990s genocide? Braden.
Rwanda.
Rwanda is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what 4-letter abbreviation whose S stands for substances refers to fluorine-containing compounds often nicknamed forever chemicals?
No answer.
Goreville, chance to steal.
CFCs.
That's incorrect. The answer we're looking for was PFAs. PFAs. Your next question. During what century did the Bonfire of the Vanities occur in Florence, Lorenzo de' Medici's rule take place, and the Ottomans conquer Constantinople? Duncan.
15th.
15th century is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what river, the longest in French, contains the namesake valley, home to many historic chateaus?
The Rhine.
That's incorrect. Marion, chance to steal.
Loire.
The Loire is correct. Well done. For your next question, what game, which titles a 2023 film starring Taron Egerton, was created by programmer Alexei Pajitnov and involves moving and Braden?
Tetris.
Tetris is correct. Well done. For your bonus, what brilliant mathematician is called the Napoleon of crime and plummets into Reichenbach, falls in The Final Problem, a story by Arthur Conan Doyle?
No answer.
Goreville, chance to steal.
Professor Moriarty.
Moriarty is correct. Well done. And that bell means we are all out of time, so let's take a look at our scores. We have Goreville on top 420 over Marion's 305. So well done, Goreville. You guys are moving on. Well, that is all the time we have for on today's show. For the people working hard behind the cameras and our lovely contestants here today, I'm Ethan Neer. Thank you so much, and good night.